तो इतना बड़ा आईडी ब्लास्ट का होना क्या बयां कर रहा है। आप देखिए ये एरिया पूरा खौफजदा हो चुका है, पुलिस की गाड़ियां भी यहाँ पर पहुँच चुकी है, एरिया पूरा कॉर्डन ऑफ हो गया था। फिर ये धमाका आखिर कैसे हुआ, ये सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस पे एक बड़ा सवालिया निशान खड़ा हो चुका है कि कैसे आखिर ये कैसे हुआ ये। अगर सारा एरिया कॉर्डन ऑफ था, सारा एरिया को कॉर्डन ऑफ कर लिया था, बड़ी सर्च ऑपरेशन चल रही थी, बड़ी सेना की गाड़ियां, बड़ी सेना की टुकड़ियां यहाँ पर देखी गई, इतना बड़ा सर्च चल रहा था, फिर आखिर इतना बड़ा आईडी ब्लास्ट कैसे हुआ। तो जाहिर सी बात है कि सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस पे एक बड़ा सवालिया निशान। अगर सर्च ऑपरेशन इतनी बड़ी थी तो इतना बड़ा धमाका उसी घर में कैसे हो जाता। ये लोग जो तस्वीरों में आपने देखा, ये लोग तो आए थे अफसोस करने के लिए उस घर में जिन लोगों की जान चली गई थी, आए तो थे आंसू बहाने जिन लोगों की रात को जाने चली गई, लेकिन इन्हें नहीं मालूम था कि आए हैं हम अफसोस करने और यहाँ पर हो कुछ और जाता है। आए तो थे वो उनके लिए आंखों में आंसू बहाने, लेकिन अपने आप को ही वो जख्मी कर देते हैं। बहुत बड़ा सवालिया निशान यहाँ पर खड़ा हो गया, इतनी बड़ी सर्च ऑपरेशन तो फिर कैसे हुआ। आईडी ब्लास्ट वीडियो जर्नलिस्ट राजीव बख्शी के साथ कोमल सिंह, न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया, राजौरी।
Okay, let's go over to my colleague Tejinder right now to understand. Tejinder, if I can... All right, before we are able to re-establish that connection with my colleague Tejinder, who is joining us in a little while, let me just confirm for you the details that we do have about this entire story. As you've just been told, this is an incident that originally took place yesterday. The first part of this incident is that there was an attack in the Rajouri area. Now, during that attack, 4 civilians were killed. The manner of the attack has been given much attention to. A, that it took place in Jammu. Remember, over the last year, we've seen a spate of such killings take place. However, they have largely been focused in Kashmir. Let's go over to my colleague Tejinder. Tejinder, shocking details that are coming in. Very important to confirm them with you too. I just want to go over the details with you once. First, Tejinder, can you highlight for us what our reporter on the ground is telling us is that media officials were present in the house of one of the people who passed away yesterday. It's at the moment, while multiple media outlets were present there, that an IED actually went off, further harming more people. I believe some people have been taken to hospital. Are these details correct?
Yes, indeed, the initial investigation suggests that when the people had come to mourn the killing of a civilian who was killed last night by the terrorists in the Dhangri village of Rajouri. People from various parts, their relatives, they had come to mourn. There were also media contingent that was present there covering the event.
ऐसा कभी भी नहीं हुआ कि एक पर्टिकुलर कम्युनिटी के लोगों को चुना गया अलग से और उनको फिर मारा गया। 3-4 घरों को अटैक किया गया, 3-4 घरों के लोगों को अटैक किया।
जब तक हम लोग ये नहीं सोचेंगे कि हिंदुस्तान हम सब का है, तो कोई भी धर्म हो, जब तक हम इकट्ठे नहीं होंगे, मुल्क कभी आबाद नहीं होगा।
Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. When former chief ministers of the erstwhile state of Jammu Kashmir, Ladakh turn around and say that जब तक हम लोग ये नहीं सोचेंगे कि हिंदुस्तान सबका है, अमन शांति नहीं होगी, one has to turn around and ask them the question, do they actually believe कि जम्मू कश्मीर सबका है? या is there no place for Hindus and Hindustan parast in Jammu Kashmir? Those who are targeted, ladies and gentlemen, are those who stand firmly with the tricolour, those who are Hindus and those among the non-Hindu, non-Sikh community or among the Muslims who stand firmly with Hindus and with Hindustan. This has been the modus operandi of those puppets who have been doing the bidding of the enemy. This is the enemy's narrative in Jammu and Kashmir. And the theatre of action, when it becomes very dire in Kashmir, then the desperation moves towards Jammu, and that's exactly what is manifest. It's nothing but an act of cowardice, ladies and gentlemen, when these terrorists walk in and then they identify people who are Hindus and innocent civilians, and they just gun them down and then leave behind IEDs in the same house that also claims innocent in women and also young children. They spare nobody. These are heartless brutes who deserve perhaps the most brutal of deaths, and they will be accounted for by our security forces. One can be very, very assured of that. But what is the underlying thought process? The underlying thought process, and what perhaps should irk you and me as Hindustanis, as Bharatiya Nagariks, is those who try and give these elements cover fire. Those who desist from calling them terrorists and soft pedal them as militants, etc. Those who try and shift the blame elsewhere and will not take the bull by the horns that this is an underlying hatred for Hindus and Hindustan that is manifest, and they deliberately want to continue to sow the seeds of division so that they can get terror recruits. These are aspects which we need to learn from our history so that it does not get repeated. Those who don't learn from history often repeat the same mistakes. Let us remember that as a country, and let us stand solidly behind every single Indian citizen, every single person who stands with the tricolour, and say that we will not allow these elements to succeed, and we'll call out those who continue to give them cover fire. That ecosystem needs to be busted, ladies and gentlemen. We start with news coming through. Our investigations editor Manoj Gupta has been in touch with top intelligence sources who are also echoing what not just the LG but also other senior former top cops have echoed here on CNN News 18. That the lens is on re-establishing village defense committees to fight terror, the VDCs. They are there, but they need to be strengthened further, and it is these VDCs. There were nearly 26,500 plus of these members of the village defense committees who across Jammu, Doda, Kishtwar, that entire region and the Chenab Valley region were able to, in higher reaches where uniformed personnel find it very difficult to reach, were helping locals fight off these terrorists. That's what happened. The push to reboot the village defense committee with arms and also salaries. And these village defense committees were mixed. They were all members of every single person living in that region. All communities alike came together to form these VDCs. Threat of terror looms large in Chenab Valley and the Pir Panjal area, because in the past these areas have been hotbeds for recruitment, have been catchment areas. The terrorist banks are drying up. 50 plus of the 186 terrorists killed in the last 1 year in Jammu and Kashmir have been commanders. So they are leaderless, they are cadreless, and they want to push this for recruitment. Security forces have a small presence in Chenab and Pir Panjal areas, especially in the higher reaches, remote areas, and that's where these VDCs come into play. And top cops have suggested expanding this anti-terror grid via VDCs. So if there is a strong carpet or a strong grid that's been cast in Kashmir and the neighboring districts in Kashmir Valley, then you need to do that and bring that into Jammu region too, and that too with the help of these VDCs. Rajouri, Kishtwar, Ramban, Poonch and the Chenab Valley have a mixed population, and any seeds of divide that are sown here can be a problem. VDCs can help quell communal tensions in these sensitive areas because they will do it collectively. All the Hindustan Parast have to come together and reject these Pak Parast, these enemy Parast elements who do not have respect for humanity, and even innocent citizens are their target. What are those people? They're nothing but cowards who think that it's great bravado to shoot somebody who's innocent, people who are defenseless. Key to ensure one community dominates village defense committees should that needs to be avoided. VDCs were constituted in 1995 in 10 districts of the Jammu region, and over 26,000 locals were recruited for village defense committees. It was mixed communities. It should not be largely dominated only by one single section or segment of society, and it has to be mixed. Many VDCs were disbanded by previous Jammu and Kashmir governments. They need to be reactivated. Tejinder Sodhi is with us. Tejinder, and this is something which was a call which was made by the locals who, after the LG's visit, now have cleared that Dhangri Chowk area. The strike has been called out. But SPOHG, when he was with us in the evening, he also reiterated that you need to bring back the VDCs.
Indeed, Anand, you see, this is an undenying fact that if terrorism was eradicated from the mountainous districts of Doda, Kishtwar, Ramban, and also from the bordering district of Rajouri and Poonch, it was because of the support which the security forces got from the village defense committee members. Several village defense committee members who belonged to various communities, they were from Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, and other communities from Gujjar, Bakarwal, who were living in those areas. They were the volunteers who came forward to fight terrorism. Government provided them with arms and ammunition so that they could fight terrorism. But gradually, successive state governments, they disbanded those village defense committees, took away arms from them. And you see, yesterday when this tragedy, this terror attack did take place in the Dhangri village of Rajouri district, the local residents there, they were saying that had they got those weapons, had the VDC members present at that place, the tragedy would have been averted. Right. They could have given a befitting reply to the terrorists. Several terror attacks in the past were averted because the village defense committees were able to fire back on those terrorists. So several massacres of the minority community in the mountainous districts of erstwhile Doda district and also the bordering district of Poonch and Rajouri were averted because of the village defense committee members. Also, Anand, I would like to add that today when Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha was meeting the local residents in Rajouri, the members of the family members of these 6 martyrs, he promised that the government would now work toward reviving the village defense committees, would equip them with sophisticated weapons so that the tentacles, though the terrorists are not allowed to spread their tentacles in these areas. Yes, Anand.
Well, thank you for your inputs, Tejinder. But largely what also stands out is that there are those who continue to give these elements cover fire. There are those who will still continue to try and soft pedal these elements. What's on display, ladies and gentlemen, undeniably is hatred. Hatred for Hindus and Hindustan, and that's the reason why Hindus are being hunted, or those who back Hindus and Hindustan are also being hunted. Will this ecosystem continue to deny it? Will they continue to give this kind of cover fire? Is a question that remains. Yes, there is more that needs to be done to ensure, and of course the responsibility lies on the administration, that this targeting and this willful targeting does not happen. These attacks should not happen, and what has worked in the past should have already been activated. Do we need the death of 4 civilians, a blast, and the claiming of the lives of 2 more additional, including a young child, just 5 years old? Do we need all of that for us to wake up and say, all right, let's reactivate this? These are also questions that remain. Aarti Tikku, founder, editor-in-chief of the New Indian with us. Brigadier Anil Gupta, Jammu and Kashmir BJP spokesperson with us. We have Ahmed Ayaz, political analyst, and Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former DG Infantry, also with us. But first, I'm going to go across to Ankur Sharma of Ikjut Jammu. He is with us at this point. He's the president, Ikjut Jammu. Ankur Sharma, we've raised these. We've talked about issues of Jammu in the past, and we've seen that Jammu has a different dynamic compared to Kashmir. But when you look at Jammu and Kashmir, and when there is a terror footprint, we have had a fantastic year in 2022 in terms of tourist footfall, in terms of no hartals, in terms of maximum number of terrorists being gunned down, and this entire system being weeded out, cracked down upon the OGWs, those who are sympathizers, etc. We are also seeing a shift in the strategy. We are also seeing that the attacks are moving towards Jammu and Rajouri, Poonch, this area. There is also selective targeting of Kashmiri Pandits, government employees, and like I said, Hindustan Parast. This is exactly what's happened today or yesterday.
Yes, absolutely. So this first proposition that probably some lightning strike has been executed against terrorists and they're running away is a false propaganda that this government has been peddling now since years. As a matter of fact, the institution of radicalization and indoctrination, the Islamic radicalization and indoctrination are flourishing in J&K. You'll be surprised to know that Ahle Hadith, which is the mother organization, ideological mother of Lashkar-e-Taiba, has religious infrastructure in Jammu province. And recently, Lashkar modules were busted in Jammu province. I think the first thing that this government has to learn is to stop lying now. I'll read out for you what the army says and what the police says on same date. I'm reading a newspaper report of 23rd November 2022, page 10 of the newspaper. It says, the army says 300 militants active in J&K, 160 militants waiting at launch pad across border, says army. And on the same day, in the same newspaper, you have a newspaper report saying security situation in J&K improving, number of terrorists below 100, DGP. So army says 300 and 160 waiting. DGP says on the same day 100. Then you have the home minister of the country saying on 28th October that new era has started in J&K, terror incidents down by 34%. And on the very same day, you have the Union Additional Home Secretary deposing before the UN Counter-Terrorism Committee and saying that terror activities up in J&K since 2021, India tells UN panel. So that is the state of affairs that we have been witnessing. And along with this, you have this phenomena, this policy paradigm of the state of India of remaining in denial about this process of Hindu genocide. These killings yesterday are a grim reminder of the fact that Hindu genocide in J&K is a continuous unabated phenomena for only the reason that the state of India continues to remain in denial about this process of Hindu genocide. As long as the state of India continues to deny the existence of Hindu genocide, as long as the state of India is not ready to call the problem by its real name, which is jihad in J&K, I do not think things will improve, and the government, probably because of its policy structure, is facilitating ultimately the severe worst genocide of Hindus, and yesterday's killing are a clear manifestation of the same.
See, along with, you've said Hindu genocide, there is no arguing the fact that this was done to try and cleanse and ethnically cleanse and demographically alter the status of Kashmir altogether, and also largely push them out of Kashmir Valley. This was what the narrative was. And anybody who stood with Hindus, anybody who stood with the tricolor or Hindustan was also targeted and also considered dispensable. So that was also another that was also another aspect which stood out. So, but Brigadier,
that's a false proposition. I'll just intervene. That's a false proposition for the reason that Hindus are being killed just because they are Hindus.
Correct.
Muslims and others are killed because they may not politically support their movement. They might be seeing that this Muslim is working with the Indian establishment for his own earning and livelihood, and maybe
correct. So that's what I said. Two aspects. One, that you are a Hindu. Two, that you are Hindustan Parast. That means you are working for the tricolor, and that is why you are working for Hindustan, and you support Hindus. So then you also need to be dispensed with. So both ways.
The dichotomy of a believer and a non-believer, the kafir and the non-kafir.
Correct.
The dichotomy. I think we are using the situation here. Jihad very clearly defines, outlines and dichotomize this distinction. We have to understand that the LG of the state, of the UT, is on record to say that people should not see Hindu killings in Kashmir from a religious angle. That is absolutely outrageous. That is absolutely false. I mean, there have been clearly declarations by the terrorist organizations, just because you are Hindus, we have to Islamize the place, you have to be shunted out. Have you forgotten 1990?
Correct.
They talked about Kashmir files.
But you also, one second, Ankur, let's not just get ahead of ourselves. There is also another aspect. The aspect is that let's try and continue to sow the divide between the existing community, which also is living peacefully, which is accepting each other. Let's try and divide them. Let's try and further divide them, because that also serves an ulterior motive for the enemy. The ulterior motive for the enemy is that if I have Hindus and Muslims at loggerheads, and if there are situations of communal riots, I also create an active breeding ground and possibilities for fresh recruitment of cadre. That's also a reality, because there are those who don't want violence, who reject them outright. They are also targeted. So that's also a reality. But you have raised a few points, Brigadier Anil Gupta, that the security forces themselves present different pictures on the same day. The government of the day is also presenting a different picture. So either you accept or you deny. You can't accept and deny at the same time. That's the criticism.
No, the problem is that you play with figures. You pick up figures from somewhere, you play with them. The fact remains that terrorism has been on decline. And there is no denying the fact. The terrorism has been on decline. The incidents of terror take place As long as the terror ecosystem continues to flourish in Jammu and Kashmir, acts of terror will continue to happen. It's very difficult to predict when a terrorist will act and where he'll act. Therefore, to say that different figures are being given and to support with that, to say that government is lying, I don't take that. I don't buy that. One must accept the fact that terrorism, from where it was and where it is now, it's gone down. The very fact that less than 100 people have been locally recruited during the last year is a big achievement. The very fact that the number of terror incidents has gone down, number of civilians killings have gone down ever since 370 was removed. So all these things point towards improving law and order situation. But yes, terror incidents do take place, and I am a firm believer that as long as last gun is there, the terror incidents will continue. And last gun will go only the day the terror ecosystem is totally wiped off from J&K. To wipe that off is a difficult job, because in the terror ecosystem are involved not only the terrorists, but the locals, the local support, the local infrastructure. Because a terrorist without local support is like a fish out of water. The terrorists survive here because of some sort of local support. Till such time that local support dies, then the local support doesn't come only from the civilians. It comes from even organs of the state, some people in the uniform. So many of them are involved. And I also feel that some politicians may be involved in it. So all these things will take time. So therefore, we must be patient. Yes, what has happened in Rajouri is, I fully agree with you that Pakistan since long has been trying to have communal rights in this Jammu region, because Pakistan is not happy with the status quo. Pakistan is not happy with the peaceful coexistence of the communities in this region. So therefore, they have been trying their best, and there have been a number of incidents. Last year also saw near Mender temple, the terrorists were caught. They were trying to blow up the temple near Mender. Earlier, they tried it in Doda Kishtwar. Doda Kishtwar area has become peaceful.
So if this is my research team, sir, has also sent me information that this activity in this Rajouri Poonch area has been revived after 2013. Since 2018, 2019, it's been on the up. So till now, why have the VDCs not been brought back? Why is it that there is rightful criticism if the VDCs have not been strengthened, the salaries have not been paid, and they have not been reinstated in all these places? If erstwhile governments did away with them, they should have been brought back since 2018, 2019. Ever since the abrogation of 370, VDCs should have been reactivated.
Anand, I fully agree with you. The problem of VDCs was that there was not a proper policy for VDCs. There was no policy for the salary, no policy for the recruitment. The previous governments had done away with it. BJP always fought for VDCs. It was with the active involvement of BJP that in March 2022, the government of India, the Home Ministry, declared that VDCs will be re-established, they'll be reorganized, and they will be equipped with high-tech weapons. But unfortunately, I'm very, very sad to say, unfortunately, nothing happened since 2022. That's very sad. And that's an investigation. Why this? Who was responsible for this?
So if it was approved in March 2022, Jan 2023, you have had to have the LG today promise again that the VDCs will be strengthened. I'm just going to go across to that, and then I'll bring in Arjit Singh, Ahmed Ayaz and also General Kulkarni. Quickly, LG Manoj Sinha met with the families of the civilians martyred in the terror attack in Rajouri, and he also then he met with the kin of the victims. He also then has assured that they will crush terror infrastructure. More importantly, he has said that the administration has given full freedom to the security forces to go ahead and attack and counter-attack, and also get the perpetrators, bring them to book. But more, he's also turned around and said that the village defense committees will be strengthened. He has announced compensation to the families and also government job to the next of kin, although he said nothing can compensate the loss of a life and loved one. But he's also thereafter chaired a high security meeting. And I must tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the strike and that entire ghirao of the Dhangri Chowk has been lifted after the locals were reassured by the LG Manoj Sinha. But has enough been done? That's important. Let's listen into what the LG had to say quickly.
ये पता है कि मौत का कोई मुआवजा नहीं होता, प्रशासन का अपना धर्म है। जो व्यवस्थाएं हैं उनका पूरा इस्तेमाल करके उन परिवारों की देखभाल हम लोग करेंगे। सरकारी नौकरी भी देंगे, आर्थिक मुआवजा भी देंगे। कुछ कंसर्न्स उन लोगों ने उठाए हैं, उन कंसर्न्स को भी हम हल करेंगे। अभी एक सिक्योरिटी की भी मीटिंग की गई, 2-3 फैसले हम लोगों ने किए हैं। एक तो इस मामले की गंभीरता से जांच और तह तक पहुंचना, क्योंकि ये नापाक कोशिश से फिर से वो स्थिति लाने की, वो किसी हाल में नहीं होने दिया जाएगा। कुछ लोगों ने सवाल उठाया लैप्सेस का, तो उसके लिए एक इंक्वायरी गठित करके पता करेंगे। जिन लोगों ने भी इस घटना को अंजाम दिया है, पूरा हिसाब बराबर किया जाएगा।
आरती टिकू सिंह।
Anand, it is good to hear that LG Manoj Sinha said कि हिसाब बराबर किया जाएगा, but unfortunately the government of India still does not seem to have the courage to call this act of terror by its real name. It is Islamic Jihad. You cannot just get away from this fact. The fact is that there are people across the border, across the line of control, who believe in Islamic Jihad, who have fought wars over Jammu and Kashmir with the motivation of bringing Jammu and Kashmir under an Islamic flag. So we should not be under any illusion that this is something else, that this, as LG Manoj Sinha has recently said, that we shouldn't see this in religious terms, but it is. Pakistan was founded on an Islamist agenda. The two-nation theory is an Islamist agenda. The war on Jammu and Kashmir in the last 75 years is an Islamist agenda. Having said that, I mean, look at the shameless politicians of Jammu and Kashmir. Farooq Abdullah, as usual, peddling the same rhetoric with no meaning. It's just pontification. It's just, platitudes. He does not have the courage to call this out. He does not have the courage to blame Pakistan. He does not have the courage to blame Islamists who are responsible for eliminating and ethnically cleansing Hindus first they cleanse them in Kashmir, and now, as usual, they are targeting Jammu region. This has been a pattern for the last 32 years. Whenever Pakistan sees stiff resistance and stiff fight from the Indian security forces in Kashmir, they shift their attention to Jammu. That's precisely what has happened, and that is why I agree with the government of India when they say that there is a decline in terrorism in Kashmir. It is true, absolutely correct. There is a decline because the government of India made tremendous efforts since 2019 to fight back terrorism in Islamic Jihad in Kashmir. Now that Pakistan is a basket case, it is begging, borrowing and stealing money from around the world, and it has actually nothing else. So they are going to mobilize Islamists across their country, and they will try to, the Sharifs and others, the Bhuttos, all of them will come together to rile up Islamists against Hindus and India.
No.
Once again, I would say that the problem here is the denial of the government of India to call this by its real name. Also, I would say that in the last 32 years, in the last 75 years, we know the minorities in Jammu and Kashmir are vulnerable. They will always remain vulnerable. By logic, the government of India should have brought the minorities of Jammu and Kashmir under a conscription system. They should have trained them, armed them, weaponized them to defend themselves, because it is simply impossible for any government, for any number of security forces to defend every single minority person in Jammu and Kashmir. We know that Jammu and Kashmir is a border state. It is a state with line of control against Pakistan.
Here is the problem, Aarti
We
Tikku
know
Singh.
that there is an Islamist agenda.
Here is the problem, Aarti Tikku Singh. The problem is that the moment the entire definition of minorities under the National Commission for Minorities is nationalized, Jammu and Kashmir minorities don't become deemed as minorities. They, despite being much lesser in number in Jammu and Kashmir, continue to be part of the majority nationally. See, this is all a huge issue as far as the government of India needs to address. In 9 states and union territories in our country today, Hindus are minorities, but they don't get the minority rights, nor do they get the minority empowerment, nor do they get the minority protection that should be due to them. That includes the state of Jammu and Kashmir or the union territory of Jammu and Kashmir. See, these are realities, but you are right. And the other part, General Kulkarni, is Aarti ji, please conclude quickly, and then I'll go to General Kulkarni. Please conclude. I interrupted you. Yeah.
Quickly. Yes, you may be right that when you think about the minorities of Jammu and Kashmir in relation with the majority of the country, yes, they do form part of the majority, but remember, Jammu and Kashmir is a border state. Remember that Jammu and Kashmir is adjacent to Pakistan along the line of control. Remember that Jammu and Kashmir is a state over which Pakistan has fought 4 wars with India and has continued the 30-year-long proxy war against India. Remember that Jammu and Kashmir will always be a target for Islamist agenda. It will always be an Islamic jihad project for Pakistan.
No, it's been an Islamist jihad project since the 12th century. See, it's been an Islamist jihad project since the 12th century.
Absolutely.
So it continues to be. But what we do as a country and what we do as a conscious government and an administration is important. And General Kulkarni, the fact is that even within the cops and in the army, armed forces, security system, they still call them militants. They don't call them terrorists. How are we going to hold politicians and others to sympathizers to account? Because the forces themselves, only now, some of them have started openly calling them terrorists. But they slip into this soft language of militants immediately.
About it, it's very knows that Pakistan is doing best at using terrorism as an instrument of state policy. We all are aware of it. We know what exactly Jaish-e-Mohammed is up to. We know what ISI is doing as it. We know that terrorism is on the back foot in the valley, and therefore the spread of it south of Pir Panjal is wanting to garner some kind of a local support. As regards the demography is concerned, Rajouri district obviously has about 60% plus Muslims and about 35% almost of Hindus. But Rajouri town per se and the village itself has majority Hindus, not minority Hindus, the majority Hindus. Yes, there's a need to resuscitate the village defense committees. That will definitely add to it. But you saw what has happened, the Fidain attack which occurred during independence time, attacking an army camp. All these target killing are bound for sensationalization. And you have to find all kinds of groups will come up. Some people, anti-fascist front will say, we will not let India take up G20 presidency. We will ensure we sensationalize the entire issue of terrorism in India. All these talks and all these things are bound to happen. We have to take steps. We now know that drones and all are being used as logistics and all these kind of things. Obviously, after 2008, there was a general feeling that south of Pir Panjal, that the militancy had been controlled. We cannot get complacent because we really need to be up to it. Is the valley, if it is there, they would want to spread in Jammu region, and therefore the need is to ensure that they don't have a foothold in the Jammu region, and that they should be on the back foot in the valley itself. And therefore, these kind of things, we will ensure that these kind of things are kept under control. Obviously, all of us are working towards it. But yes, these kind of things, as what Brigadier Gupta said, they have a local support, a bit of a local support and things of kind. The dubious talks by the local politicians over there, there might be lip sympathy with what is happening over there, but at the same time encouraging their own cadres to create kind of a fissures between the people over there. All these things are bound to be there, but we have to take precaution. We have to ensure that these things are kept under total check and control. Village defense committees.
Sir, the larger point, sir, is that you can do hard physical action. You may say that the number of terror activities have come down, but as Ankur was pointing out, has radicalization come down? Have radical outfits been, have they been wrapped up and have their operations been wrapped up, or are they still getting a full free hand in going about and doing their business of radicalization? These are aspects which remain. And what happens to those people who are still openly sympathizing? Ahmed Ayaz, thank you for your patience. Please. Go ahead, please.
To me?
Yeah, Ji.
You see, Anand, what has happened in Rajouri yesterday and even today, it's indeed very, very sad thing, tragic, and needs to be condemned. With this gives us the sense of the total security situation prevailing here cities. Despite tall claims that things have normalized that way, that militancy reduced. Well, we are going by the numbers. We say sometimes that numbers are reduced, as somebody was saying, or may somebody say. Maybe a fact that numbers is good, but the question is the practical, what's happening on the ground. If you see that this has, we have never seen it happening in the past, the way killings is taking place, and people are killed inside their homes, and the next day people are gathering to protest, and there are bomb blasts taking place. I mean, this is a different kind of scenario. This is a different kind of, strategies being adopted. And to say that now that VDCs will be reactivated, and do you think that the security forces are not, competent enough to deal with the situation? So far as we are concerned, they are doing it very competently, with total might. And when you now reactivate the, VDCs, then it will give two messages. One, that the security forces, this will give a message to security forces, perhaps they are not doing it competently, and then you need to give them the reinforcement like VDCs which were earlier there, and then that will give a message that the situation is not that good as it was earlier, because these were disbanded when situation has improved. Naturally, they got disbanded because situation had improved. And now that when you get back the VDCs, and then that means the situation is again going back to the abnormalcy. And more so, at the top of it, it will give another message that the government saying that situation has come down militancy-wise, terror activities, terror activities.
No, but do we? But please tell me, Ahmad Ayaz, should villages be prepared, and should villages be trained just because if situation becomes better, or should they be trained and alert at all points in time, because terror does not pick up, it is their place and choice. Those who defend, those who attack will choose the place of attack. Those who have to defend, they have to defend everywhere. That's how the mentality is. The other part is, sir, that why is it that still now there is a hesitancy to call them terrorists? Terrorism and terrorists. Why militants and militancy? Why these soft words? Why try to give this a homegrown, ingenuous kind of a picture every time? The more you do that, the more you encourage them. That means that there is a certain fear in calling them terrorists, or there is a certain reluctance or people that you will not call them terrorists. But Brigadier Anil Gupta, please respond. How would you see this? Reviving these VDCs?
I fully agree with my co-panelists, Aarti and Ankush, that Jammu and Kashmir is a victim of jihadi terrorism, and there is no doubt about it. We all accept it and we understand it. Now, the question which was raised was, what action is taking against radicalization? Anand, the pillar of radicalization in Jammu and Kashmir was Jamaat-e-Islami, and the actions which have been taken against Jamaat-e-Islami and to wipe out its ill effects, you well know what has happened in the last few, I would say, almost a year now. So therefore, action is being taken against radicalization. As far as Al-Hadith is concerned, it's a sect by itself. It's something like the Bahavis. Yes, like Bahavis, the Al-Qaeda was motivated by the Bahavism. Similarly, maybe the Lashkar-e-Taiba is motivated by Al-Hadith. But then Al-Hadith and being a sect, it's a little difficult for the government to act upon a particular sect. But then again, questions of favoritism and sectarianism will come. But definitely, it is on the radar. Action will be taken against all those who are spreading radicalization in Jammu and Kashmir.
Well, sir, Jammu has become fertile territory, and this is exactly what the intent has been, to sow the seeds of divide among the communities who have largely remained peaceful there, and then try and once again make it a fertile ground for recruitment. So there are devious means. If you've played the game of Go, this is what is happening. that they continue to keep changing the battlefield and the scenarios and the strategies continue to define. So you are focusing on one area whereas something else is happening somewhere else. So this is something that we have to wisen up to. And we have to be 2 steps ahead of the terrorists. We cannot follow the enemy and we cannot be shadowing the enemy at all points in time. This is a reality that we have to all wake up to. I thank you all. I have run out of time. I thank you all for joining us here on debate number 1 on the right stand. We're going to take a very short break, ladies and gentlemen. And from Jammu and Kashmir, we shift the spotlight to Kerala, where the excise minister of Kerala has tried to sow a divide among Hindus. He's tried to create a divide between Adi Shankaracharya and Sri Narayana Guru. And the allegation that's been made by the MOSMEA V. Muralidharan is that this is being done deliberately for votes. Maligning an Acharya for mileage is the question that we ask when we come back. Stay with us.
लोग तो आए थे अफसोस करने के लिए उस घर में जिन लोगों की जान चली गई थी। आए तो थे आंसू बहाने जिन लोगों की रात को जाने चली गई, लेकिन इन्हें नहीं मालूम था कि आए हैं हम अफसोस करने और यहाँ पर हो कुछ और जाता है। आए तो थे वो उनके लिए आंखों में आंसू बहाने, लेकिन अपने आप को ही वो जख्मी कर देते हैं। बहुत बड़ा सवालिया निशान यहाँ पर खड़ा हो गया। इतनी बड़ी सर्च ऑपरेशन तो फिर कैसे हुआ? आईडी ब्लास्ट वीडियो जर्नलिस्ट राजीव बख्शी के साथ कोमल सिंह, न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया, राजौरी।
Okay, let's go over to my colleague Tejinder right now to understand. Tejinder, if I can... All right, before we are able to re-establish that connection with my colleague Tejinder, who is joining us in a little while, let me just confirm for you the details that we do have about this entire story. As you've just been told, this is an incident that originally took place yesterday. The first part of this incident is that there was an attack in the Rajouri area. Now, during that attack, 4 civilians were killed. The manner of the attack has been given much attention to. A, that it took place in Jammu. Remember, over the last year, we've seen a spate of such killings take place. However, they have largely been focused in Kashmir. Let's go over to my colleague Tejinder. Tejinder, shocking details that are coming in. Very important to confirm them with you too. I just want to go over the details with you once. First, Tejinder, can you highlight for us what our reporter on the ground is telling us is that media officials were present in the house of one of the people who passed away yesterday. It's at the moment, while multiple media outlets were present there, that an IED actually went off, further harming more people. I believe some people have been taken to hospital. Are these details correct?
Yes, indeed, the initial investigation suggests that when the people had come to mourn the killing of a civilian who was killed last night by the terrorists in the Dhangri village of Rajouri. People from various parts, their relatives, they had come to mourn. There were also media contingent that was present there covering the event, the tragedy there. There was an IED which seems to be a booby trap that was planted by the terrorists in the house, which exploded. And now we are told that 2 people, including a child, has been injured in this fresh IED blast that took place inside the house, where the people from various places, they had come to mourn the killing last night. So now the entire area is once again being sanitized by the security forces. But this seems to be a major lapse on part of security forces, because last night when this attack did take place, in which 4 people were gunned down, it seems that the entire area was not sanitized properly. And how come an IED was still left untraced in that house? So the questions are being raised on the security forces as well. But these 2 people who have been injured, they have received minor injuries. They are being evacuated to the hospital right now. The operation in the area is still going on. The security forces are working really hard to ensure that the terrorists responsible for last night's attack are neutralized. But yes, the breaking news right now.
Stay with us. We want to essentially show you that ground report once again from News 18's Komal.
कपड़े तक फट चुके हैं, इनकी तबीयत इनकी खराब है। एम्बुलेंस का इंतजार किया जा रहा था कि ये जवान जल्दी से इसका मतलब है कि जब उन्होंने रात को फायरिंग की थी तब वहां पे वो ग्रेनेड भी था जो अभी धमाका हुआ है। वहां पर बहुत बड़ा धमाका हुआ है। एक आईडी ब्लास्ट हुई है। इस वक्त की सबसे बड़ी ब्रेकिंग आईडी ब्लास्ट हुई है। आईडी ब्लास्ट हुई है इस वक्त की सबसे बड़ी खबर।
Welcome back. MB Rajesh, the excise minister of the left government in Kerala, has drawn a divide between Adi Shankaracharya and Sri Narayana Guru. Now, what he has turned around and said is that Adi Shankaracharya upheld the caste system and Varnashrama, and that he is not an Acharya of Kerala. Adi Shankaracharya was born in Khaladi, and he took the message of Advaita Vedanta across the country. He also established Matha. So who was he? He was born in Kerala in the 8th century. He is a mystic and philosopher, Adi Shankaracharya himself. He was born in Khaladi, the village on the banks of the Periyar river. And Adi Shankaracharya consolidated the doctrine of Advaita Vedanta. Interestingly, Adi Shankaracharya was just tall of 33, but he traveled the length and breadth of the country, and at a very young age he passed away, but he left an indelible mark on Bharatavarsha because he established 5 critical mathas, and he was also perhaps credited for the revival of Vedic philosophy and Vedanta, and of course Hinduism on that part. The doctrine includes commentaries on Prasthanatrayi. He's also challenged the philosophical hegemony of Buddhism and Jainism at that time, and he spearheaded Hindu unity by setting up 4 key mathas. He travelled all the way from Kanyakumari all the way to Kashmir, and that is where the whole coinage of I come from Dravida, that means the land that is sandwiched between seas, also came in. This whole use of the word Dravida also came at that point in time. But the larger question is this comment that has been made to try and separate Sri Narayana Guru and also Adi Shankaracharya and deny him as the Acharya of Kerala. Is it being done for votes, as is being alleged by the BJP and also the MOSMEA? Is it deliberately being done? Or is it left, which is largely supposed to be atheist, trying to unnecessarily once again target Hinduism and Hindu philosophy? Let's try and ask our guests who are far more adept at answering this question and also countering Mr. MB Rajesh than I am. My knowledge very, very limited. M.R. Venkatesh, advocate, with us. Lalit Kumar, president of the Hindu Janashakti, is with us. And Dushyant Sridhar, Vedic speaker, writer. He is an engineer by academics, but he is a student of Vedic philosophy and Vedanta and the scriptures. So let me start with you, Dushyant ji. My namaste. Happy New Year to everybody. And let's dive into this. Adi Shankaracharya promoted the cruel caste system, Dushyant Sridhar ji, because he upheld Varnashrama. And he is not an Acharya of Kerala. And Sri Narayana Guru is the better person. And he is the one who should be followed and considered Acharya. How would you respond to this statement?
Outset, Namaskaram Anand, Namaskaram to my fellow panelists, and thanks for your wishes for 2023. I pass it on to all the Astikas and the viewers of News 18 as well. Even before I could go into the topic, Anand, just a general comment. With the recent comments, uncharitable ones being offered on Hinduism, on the philosophers of Hinduism, in the last few years by people of various political parties, I feel they keep mum for some time, because at times their statements stink like the burp of a person who has consumed 100 kgs of garlic. So if they are not people adept enough to comment on the system and on the philosopher, that too as towering and as important as Adi Shankaracharya, so I feel they should keep mum. That aside, and who's going to listen to your advice and my advice? Very quickly, Adi Shankaracharya, who lived as per the sources of some of the mathas in the 8th century, was a prolific poet, a great philosopher. Now the question that has been raised by the political person here is, he advocated the cruel caste system and Narayana Guru was absolutely not related to it. I am just going to read out this line from Anukampa Dashakam, a beautiful work by Sri Narayana Guru, the 20th century philosopher. From that work of his, he states in Vachanam 6, Paramartha murachu tevar vidum porulo, buddha yakshamam patiyo, sarala Advaita Bhasha Karanam Guruva Yenikam Anukampaudan. So here Narayana Guru says, who are you, O my dear Guru? Are you the one who advocated the Advaita philosophy by name Adi Shankara? So here Narayana Guru pays his obeisances to Adi Shankara, who incidentally hails from the same state of Kerala where Narayana Guru hailed from. If Sri Narayana Guru, the venerated Guru of the 20th century, hails Adi Shankara, and here is the political person trying to create the divide, he is neither doing justice to Narayana Guru nor doing justice to people by giving such wrong information. If Narayana Guru has venerated Adi Shankara, where does this cruel caste system come from? What does he know about the caste system and how does he call it cruel, and what verse of Adi Shankara is he quoting to even give that? For instance, there is one verse which is Jnanam Karmeti Lokesmin Vidhayoga Samasataha Anayogar Yoga Vistaraha Sarva Parisamapyate. This is a verse of Narayana Guru talking about Jnana Bhakti Marga as advocated even by Adi Shankara. So there is no point of difference. There is not one place where he abuses Adi Shankara, rather he venerates Adi Shankara. So it is high time, Anand, my first comment is going to be my last comment, that political people, when they do not have knowledge about anything, especially about religion and philosophy, they have absolutely no right to make such sweeping statements against a great personality, Acharya Varya, like Adi Shankara.
But they pick only Hindu philosophers, Hinduism, to target, to make these comments, and so these will these
because
people...
they won't be beheaded.
Yabar Venkatesh.
Anand, wish you a happy 2023, and it's a proud privilege to share a screen space with Mr. Dushyant Sridhar. I'm a great fan of us, and thank you very much for this opportunity. And yesterday I was at Kalahasti, at the birthplace of Adi Shankara. Kaladi. And I had the opportunity of visiting and enjoying the place. There something told me, there was some brooding, shall I say, omnipresence of something to befall. And what I hear today is this idiotic statement that Narayana Guru is secular and Adi Shankara is communal. And this communalism and secularism has taken us so deeply ingrained into our collective conscious, especially of the leftists, of the communists, of various hues of the Latins Delhi, that you try to see communism and communalism and secularism in every damn thing. And as Dushyant rightly pointed out, that these guys don't know a thing about Hindu religion. They don't know our Guru Sishya lineage. They do not know what is it that is made up of. I'm not a scholar like Dushyant, but all that I can say, I'm talking from a political sense, that you try to see cleavages where none exists. You try to create cleavages where it is impossible to create cleavages. And you try to see that then this is a upper caste, lower caste. You see division in every damn thing when our acharyas saw a unity in every damn thing. And I'm using the word damn with absolute responsibility, knowing well when you talk about our acharyas, you don't talk such hard languages. But I'm compelled to use it because these guys who are loony left, who want to annihilate our past, who don't believe in our civilization, who do not know our civilization. And this is what did happen with the Chinese also. This is new to India. 88 generations of some of the greatest Chinese philosophers were all burnt by the Red Guards and destroyed completely. That if your aim is to annihilate your history or completely destroy your history, your civilization, your progress, and the route to your progress, I think these are savages. These people are left alone. They don't need any discussion, and they must be condemned in the strongest sense of the term, condemnation.
The leftists are supposed to be atheists, but their atheism is
selective atheism.
Yeah, is selective only towards attacking Hindu beliefs. Now you had this person in Telangana who attacked devotees of Lord Ayyappa or Shabrimala Ayyappa. Swami.
No, 1 minute, Narasimhan. This belief, once it comes to your belief, it is sacrosanct and it should not be touched. Suppose I believe in the color red, has to be and there are There are people who venerate colors. There are people in Tamil Nadu, Dushanji can bear it out. There are Mailkalli Swamis. In the sense, when there is a milestone in the highway, you find people venerating that Mailkalli stone. Why do they do it? You may laugh, I may laugh, but the people are venerating, and it is our belief not to tolerate them. We accept them. Tolerance is a very pejorative term. We accept them. And we accept them because our civilization says that we must accept people as they are, not to modify them and tweak them to our tastes and our sensibilities. We take them as they are is acceptance. Tolerance is a very
we also have the concept of Tarka Shastra. That means I convince you or you convince me.
But eventually,
eventually we try and do it. It's a enlightened or a
what happened between Shankaracharya and Mandala Mishra. This happened in a very sophisticated.
But here what I'm trying to tell you is that those whose philosophy, underlying political ideology itself says that you are supposed to be theologically neutral or religion neutral.
Exactly.
They pass comments on religion and beliefs and faith, but that too of only one particular segment or one particular community. The rest they keep quiet. They will not open their mouth. So the Abrahamic faiths will never get any comment there from the left. But the Hindu faith and the Hindu beliefs will continuously be berated and will be lampooned, and that too ill-informed conversation. Now this is also being done. The allegation that MOS, MEA V Muralidharan made is that it is being done for votes, to try and divide those who are bhaktas of Adi Shankaracharya and the followers of Sri Narayana Guru and wean one from the other and separate. Now this is again divide and rule that is happening, Lalit Kumar.
Exactly.
I'm just bringing in Lalit Kumar before I come back to you, Dushanji and MRV. Yeah.
First of all, my pranams to all the personalities in the panel. And to start with, I have to say, this is not the first time these communist buffons are making these kind of statements. Previously also, they made a lot of statements like this. This just because to derogate or to insult Hinduism. As we observe the situation now, he is not trying to elevate Narayan Guru or to degrade Adi Shankaracharya. He just wanted to simply create a disturbance or deviation between Hindus. That is the reason. If we simply observe one thing in the history of Adi Shankaracharya, we can see the situation of Manisha Panchakam. When he met the Chandala, who is considered to be the lowest category in the Varnashrama, or else Panchamas. When he met him, he made the writing name Manisha Panchakam. In that he says one thing, Chandalostu Dvijostu Guru Rityesha Manisha Mama. That means either he is a Chandala or he is a Brahmin. It doesn't matter. If he is a knowledgeable person, I'll consider him as a Guru. This is the perception of Adi Shankaracharya regarding the Varnas and the people. Without knowing anything, how this idiot made this statement, I don't know. But we as a Hindu or as an Indian, we have to condemn this. And he's saying one more thing, that Shankaracharya is not Guru for Kerala. No, Shankaracharya is not just Acharya for Kerala, he is Acharya for entire India and entire world. That is the reason he is called Jagat Guru Shankaracharya. He is not the one to make a statement that he is not Acharya for Kerala. Because Kerala, or every Keralite should be proud that the place is blessed with the birth of Adi Shankaracharya.
No, it's sometimes one also wonders, Dushanji, how do we get such people who unnecessarily come out and lampoon and make statements which are ill-informed, which are not based on fact? How do we get them to retract their statement? Because, like you said, acceptance is there, and people will say things. You have to enlighten and you have to say what you know. That's what the philosophy is. It's not, well, like you said, nobody is going to go ahead and behead M.B. Rajesh for the statements that is for his utterances against Adi Shankaracharya, or is ill-informed, and nobody should. That's not the way it is. Correct. But there has to be some level where insulting Hinduism, unnecessarily misrepresenting and misstating facts will stop, especially from political people and people in public life who think they can get away with it.
Anand, very quickly, to understand the contribution made by Sri Adi Shankaracharya, one must have the patience and the knowledge and the inclination to read the commentary to his Brahma Sutras, the Vedanta Sutras, to the commentary made by him of Bhagavad Gita, to the Upanishads, Viveka Chudamani, the Bhashyam on Vishnu Sahasranamam, a plethora of shlokas and stotrams that he has composed, and the wonderful upa-commentaries, there are tikas that are written to it. And to understand Narayana Guru, one must understand his life, his learnings, his teachings, his works. If at all this person believes that he can create this divide so beautifully like how he has managed to do it now, then he must also read the works of Sri Narayana Guru, who also, in my understanding, please audience have the right to correct me, he advocated vegetarianism. So in that case, wasn't the same Communist Party the one that was patronizing the beef festival? So you cannot do a prakshiptavadam, you cannot pick and choose certain parts of the body. I love Anand's left hand, I love Anand's right foot. I cannot select you in pieces, I have to take you as a whole. If you believe Narayana Guru is the person, the Guru that you venerate, then promote vegetarianism. Then Narayana Guru was a person who absolutely believed in Parabrahman. Then you believe in Parabrahman, because there were leaders in the Communist Party in Kerala who were extremely devoted to Guruvayurappan. I think if I'm right, Karunakaran and all of them, they were all very extremely devoted to Guruvayurappan of Kerala. They wouldn't even be a single month where he wouldn't go to Guruvayur, then become that leader. You cannot pick and choose those parts where you feel you can get comfortable in an argument. That means you're losing the argument.
M.R. Venkatesh?
See, the problem with these type of leftists is that they have bred themselves on with this type of scurrilous statements. And unfortunately, the Hindu society does not give them a damn. And it irks some of us. But the Hindu society just goes on and on and on, doesn't even bother about these things, because it is not even worth debating as far as the larger sections of the people are concerned. But you are right, Anand, that I am also wondering, what is the alternative to shut them off? What is the mechanism legally, constitutionally tenable, but at the same time put them off? Now, unfortunately, we can't take 153A, we can't take 295, all these sections of IPC into account and file a case against him, because it's not going to work. It doesn't probably excite the lawyer in me to file a case in these type of things. Only thing I think the society, has the best mechanism to do what they do best is to ignore these people, and that would be the best form of humiliation for these type of people. I don't see any other way out.
No, but if this is being done for votes, if this is going to form an opinion from largely people do not know the difference.
No,
these are people who are opinion makers. See,
that is why people like Dushyant Sridhar become very important, because they are the people who are carrying the alternative message. And that is what makes it makes them a compelling personality in the modern society. That you need not go to the level of a rabid dog to fight a rabid dog. You can do it in a very sophisticated manner, and believe me, this is the best response that we are giving by ignoring him. Ignoring him is the best response a society can give.
See, my point is either you ignore or you start informing. The latter is more important. The latter is more important, and somewhere the humble endeavor by bringing you all on the panel tonight has been to try and inform the viewer that you cannot take what certain leaders say on face value. That is something that's not possible. Yes, final 10 seconds, I have to wind up. Yeah, I'm running.
Anand, 1 second.
Yeah.
I will say that you are also as important, because the message if it is being carried by Dushyant ji, you are the carrier and you are also equally important. We should all thank you also for this opportunity.
No, I don't deserve any thanks, sir. What is important is that people start being informed. No, I thank you all for joining us tonight. I have to wind up with this aspect that when somebody says something, don't take it at face value. Go back, read and ask those who know and be informed, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us tonight on The Right Stand. Stay with us. Zaka joins you with Brass Tacks.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. In a significant verdict today, a constitutional bench of the Supreme Court upheld the validity of demonetization of 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, which were cancelled by the government in November of 2016. 4 judges ruled in favour and 1 judge, Justice Nagaratna, dissented. She said while the objective of demonetization was good, the procedure to introduce it was flawed. But the political attacks continue, while the BJP claims that this is vindication of one of the Prime Minister's flagship policies to fight black money. The Congress says today's judgment is not an endorsement of what they considered a flawed policy.
आठ नवंबर 2016 की रात्रि को 12 बजे से 500 रुपए और 1000 रुपए के करेंसी नोट कानूनन अमान्य होगी।
6 years after Prime Minister Modi addressed the nation and announced the decision to demonetize 500 and 1,000 rupee currency notes, in a landmark 4:1 majority judgment, the Supreme Court called the policy valid. Speaking for the majority on the bench, Justice B.R. Gavai said the purpose of demonetization was proper and there was prior consultation between the government and the RBI. The bench ruled that it was not relevant whether the objective of the overnight ban was achieved or not. There was reasonable nexus between the objectives of clamping down on black money and demonetization. The action of demonetization and the time period given for currency exchange were not hit by the doctrine of proportionality, and that the government has the power to demonetize all series of banknotes and is not limited to one series alone.
It has been held that there has to be a great deal of restraint insofar as interference in the matters pertaining to economic policy is concerned. The court cannot substitute its judgment for that of the legislature or the executive. It does not supplant the feel of the experts with its own views.
But one of the judges had a dissenting verdict. Justice Nagaratna said that while the object of demonetization was noble and well-intentioned, the process undertaken was bad in law. She said the policy of demonetization should originate from the Central Board of the RBI and not the government. There was no independent application of mind by the central bank, and the entire exercise was carried out in 24 hours between the 7th of November and the 8th of November 2016. An opinion of the RBI Central Board was sought only after the government took the decision to demonetize 86% of the currency. While the BJP claimed vindication,
इस पॉलिसी की नीयत और नीति ठीक थी. It was well intentioned. जिस तरीके से ट्रांसपेरेंसी आई है और आज इस विषय को उठाने का दिन है, डिजिटल पेमेंट में कितनी बड़ी गति आई है.
The opposition latched on to the sole dissenting judgment.
The majority Supreme Court verdict deals with the limited objective, limited issue of the process of demonetization, not with its outcomes.
99.30% डिमोनेटाइज मनी अब सिस्टम में आ गया. तो इसका मतलब कोई ब्लैक मनी रिकवरी नहीं हुआ. जीडीपी ग्रोथ गिरा नहीं गिरा डिमोनेटाइजेशन गलत फैसले की वजह से प्रधानमंत्री के.
The demonetization decision had sparked massive confusion and chaos for several days as people scrambled for new currency notes. There were long queues outside banks and ATMs for days on end. So has the Supreme Court's verdict blunted the opposition's attack?
So has the demonetization debate, at least from a legal standpoint, been settled by the Supreme Court with its 4-1 majority verdict today? Let me go across to our full panel. Joining us this evening on the Talking Point and Brass Tacks, RP Singh is BJP spokesperson, Aishwarya Mahadev, Congress spokesperson, Gurcharan Das is a senior economist and former CEO of Procter & Gamble. We also have Ishkaran Bandari, Supreme Court lawyer, and Saket Mishra, economist, joining us. Aishwarya Mahadev, let me start with you first. This is what the majority of judges, 4:1 majority judgment said, and I want to read some portions of it. The purpose of demonetization was proper. There was prior consultation between the Central Board of the RBI and the central government. It is not relevant whether the objective was achieved or not. Action and time period given for currency exchange has not been hit. And this is the most important part. The government has the power to demonetize all series of bank notes. So basically, what the court is saying is the government was well within its right to demonetize the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, which you, for the last 6 years, you as in your party and other opposition parties for the last 6 years, have been saying was illegal.
Good evening, Zaka. I think in principle, this seems like a vindication for the BJP government. But whether it is a lawyer or a common man, you have to look at demonetization as the exercise. And if the objective that was cited so gloriously by the Prime Minister then was actually met, irrespective of what the court says today, and but Justice B.V. Nagaratna's dissent is something that very validly calls in the point of the power of the RBI and who actually had the legislative competence to actually undertake this move, including questions of when the recommendation, was it given by the RBI or was the government sent it to the RBI and then it basically forced his decision. Zaka, the singular fact remains that were any of the objectives reached out of this? That is the question of merit that we are asking, because whether or not the vindication from the court today with that valuable dissent exists, the state of affairs was that post-demonetization, more than 99% of all the so-called black money or the currency came back into the system. you see
No,
that
no,
the
but
cash
you
to
ca-
GDP
can
ratio,
I
while
can
we
I just
spoke
can I
about this
just there were
entire idea of
58
digitization,
petitions.
the cash
There
to
were
GDP ratio
58
is at an
petitions.
all-time
One
high
second, I'll come to
now
the cash in
than it
circulation
ever
in one
was
second,
before.
Aishwarya.
The-
I'll
one
come to the
second,
cash in
yes.
circulation in 1 second. There were 58 petitions, including many, and it was whittled down to 7 broad areas. And those 7 broad areas included the merit and the outcome, to which the majority judgment today said the outcome, whether it was met or not, is irrespective because it's post facto anyway. How can you decide 6 years on if an outcome was met or not?
You know, while the legal jurisprudence of this matter is obviously a retrospective sort of analysis of what actually happened, for any law to be good as public policy, it's something that should meet widespread sort of public acceptance. So we saw the suffering, Zaka. I think you also reported very critically and also very crucially during this period, where you have more than 120 people dead. You see informal economies or small scale economies completely wiped out. 2 years on, you saw GST, and the economy is worse for wear than ever before. Whether it is fake currency,
Okay.
whether it is GDP, whether it's the cash in the economy, obviously retrospectively they can't sit and talk about undoing the damage of 2016.
No, I'll come to the cash
Dhaka, but
in
the
circulation
fact
argument in a
remains
moment. Let me
that
ask
this was bad in
RP
law.
Singh, with today's dissenting judgment, and the opposition has been quoting the dissenting judgment by Justice Nagaratna. The objective was noble. The process that was undertaken was bad in law, RP Singh. The policy should originate from the RBI Central Board, not from the government. It should have been passed by legislation through Parliament or as an ordinance, as was done the last time in 1978, and not as a Gazette notification. This is the dissenting judgment that's being cited by the opposition.
Well, Zaka, we believe in a system where majority rules, and this is not 2:3, this is 4:1. Secondly, let's understand, the opposition is not accepting the majority judgment. When they didn't accept it, they didn't want to accept the Ram Mandir also. They went to the court and they did what drama they did in the court during the Ram Mandir case also. So similarly here, they don't believe in election commission. So they don't believe in any institution of the country, and then they have all the right to do that. They can keep doing that, but the fact is, court has made it clear that decision which was taken was a right decision. Right decision means technically there's no fault with it. I mean, I'll come to that part, whether it could achieve the objectives or not. I'll come to that part also. But technically, and then no less than Chidambaram Saab, Prashant Bhushan, I mean, they were the people who had filed their pleas against this, and they are one of the best lawyers Congress has, and Congress today can't say like that they did in Kapil Sibal case that, oh, we have nothing to do with him, he was fighting someone else's case in Ram Mandir. But similarly here they can, Mr. Chidambaram is representing a political party.
Okay, now come to the outcomes part. When demonetization was announced,
give me a second.
When demonetization was announced, there were 3 factors that were put out. The Prime Minister said it.